And yeah. All right, let's move on and talk about Havana Syndrome, which of course has been one, I've really tried to cover it on this show and keep up everything that's going on with Havana, especially after it made its resurgence in the Biden administration. Remember, this was the false big lie that Trump told in 2017 to undo Obama's detente with Cuba. They were claiming that there's these weird things happening, that diplomats are getting headaches, and we have to remove all of our embassy staff from Cuba. They use this to unwind the diplomatic staff, and then they start to put on sanctions and travel restrictions and all of that. And it was all started with this Havana Syndrome nonsense. Immediately, it was rightfully called out as seeming very, very suspicious, and then later proven to have just been crickets that, were probably giving people some headaches. And essentially, there's a lot of like psychosomatic symptoms going on here, and a few other things. And so that's where Havana Syndrome comes from. Now, once Biden takes office, this thing absolutely gets blown up. It's the Russians, it's the Chinese that are carrying out these attacks on Americans. Over 200 diplomats have been attacked all over the world, in Russia, in Hanoi, in Geneva, Paris, London, everywhere that these attacks are going on. And the most recent two alleged attacks, and this was January 13th, were in Geneva and Paris. But then, just this past weekend, we got a report, this from Politico: U.S. foe or suspected weapon not behind sustained global campaign causing Havana Syndrome, CIA finds. And the reason that this is so important isn't necessarily because I take the CIA at its word, and if the CIA says there's no Havana Syndrome, well, that means there's no Havana Syndrome. However, the reports of Havana Syndrome are all coming from the government. The rest of the world, and particularly the independent media in the U.S., has all been very skeptical and pushing back against this from years. And so, if the own government that's pushing this can't even come out and substantiate the claims, then it becomes even much, much more skeptical to me. And so I think this is actually kind of big that the CIA put this out. Now, it is an interim report, and it kind of says that all the cases that they've examined can be uncovered by or can be explained by a medical, environmental, technical factors, including previously undiagnosed illnesses. Now, there is, I guess, one other kind of important issue here is that this comes from the CIA. Of course, CIA director is William Burns. And when William Burns had previously traveled to Russia, he had raised the Havana Syndrome issue with the Russians. And so it doesn't seem to me that maybe the CIA is just dogmatically against this under the direction of William Burns or anything like that. And so this gives, to me, just a little bit more credibility to this report. Now, it does say that it hasn't looked into every case, and it hasn't completely dismissed, in every case that it could have been some kind of potential microwave or directed energy weapon. But it very clearly says that there's no cases that is even suspected of being the case. Now, if you read the mainstream media over the weekend, all the headlines were written almost to suggest that while in a majority of cases it wasn't another state actor, maybe it was in other cases, which isn't really what the CIA is saying. They're saying they can't prove the negative in the other cases, but they're not even remotely alleging that there's any kind of global campaign going on here. And so this is why I've suspected all along. This is what I've been saying on the show all along. Although I don't rely on the CNN or the CIA to vindicate me or things like that. But again, if the CIA can't even spin a lie out of this, then my strong suspicion is that it doesn't exist.